Podcast Network Asia.
Welcome to She Talks Peace, a podcast that highlights the role of women peacebuilders around the world in bringing lasting peace and security to communities. Eavesdrop on their communities and get to know their stories. From the Philippines to Malaysia, from Indonesia to Palestine, from Myanmar to the United States. Their dreams and hopes for a world without violence and a world where every woman and girl can be whoever she wants to be. Hosted by Amina Bernardo, President of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy. This is She Talks Peace.
Hello everyone, salam. Welcome to another interesting episode of She Talks Peace. I'm Amina of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, greeting you from Manila. And today I'm here with my co-host, Ayesah.
Okay. Hi, Amina. Hi, everybody. Good to be back in She Talks Peace. I'm sorry I've missed a lot of episodes, but I've been listening, and a lot of the episodes are really very exciting, Amina. And then, so today we're having another exciting guest with us.
Oh, yeah.
Who happens
but
to be your
before
friend.
we get into that, let's talk about your exciting news. I mean, you've been very, very busy giving lectures all over the place. You were in Korea. So what were you talking about? What were you lecturing about, Ayesah?
Well, it was not my stage in Korea. It was for my students, okay? So in Korea, there is this conference on sexual and gender-based violence that was organized by the Human Rights Institute, Women's Human Rights Institute, and the NGO History Forum. And this was funded by the Ministry of Women in Korea. And so they talk a lot about, the developments and the past history of sexual and gender-based violence, especially about the comfort women issue, not only in Korea, but also from other places as well. But as part of the usual conference, they actually dedicated a session called the Asia Youth Summit. So in this Asia Youth Summit, they've identified our university where together with other universities from Bangladesh, from Philippines, and from Korea and Japan, we selected some undergraduate students, and then we gave them assignments, research on sexual and gender-based violence. And these researches were presented during that Asia Youth Summit. So it was very refreshing to listen, to the work of our undergraduate students. From Malaysia, I brought with me 3 students. One is from Malaysia. One student is from Philippines, and the third student is Japanese. So it's a very international delegation from Malaysia, but all 3 students are my students in the International Relations Program.
Well, I'm glad that you're all back in Malaysia and Japan and the Philippines long before that tragic incident in South Korea. During
was really sad.
Yeah. I cannot imagine 135 young people suffocated to death because they were all cramped into that narrow alley. Oh my goodness, Ayesah, my heart was in my throat when I was watching the news accounts. It's it's so different from the way that we celebrate All Souls Day in the Philippines, because here, although Halloween is becoming a big thing, Dias de los Muertos and all that, it's becoming big, Halloween parties and all that, costume parties, but the majority of Filipinos still spend the day going to the cemeteries, cleaning up the tombs and lighting candles and staying there. I mean, in a way, thinking about their dear departed. Actually, Ayesah, except this year because of the typhoon Paeng.
That's right.
And a lot of people, they couldn't go to the cemeteries because they were flooded, and one of the provinces flooded is your old neck of the woods, Maguindanao. People were killed, and
Yeah.
there were landslides. My goodness, yes,
Yeah, I've
this.
been I've been monitoring that news as well. Yeah, it's very unfortunate that we are facing another tragedy in Maguindanao and other places also in Philippines with the flooding and all those landslides. Yeah, it really reminds us again, time and again, about the value of our environment, and how we have to stop all these logging concessions, and even the kind of activities that we do in our lands, and when we converting all these agricultural lands instead to subdivisions and all these other mixed use developments, when in fact, well, it is true that we need to develop a lot of our lands. We should also keep that these places will be the forests will be maintained, that the rivers will also be maintained, the coastal areas. We have to maintain our natural environment despite that kind of development that we want to pursue. So
Well,
again, it's
there's
a very important reminder for all of us.
Well, they should make you happy, because I've done nothing but watch what's going on in the world this past day, and I caught news coming from the United States talking about it's like green burials. So it's becoming a thing where if you want your earthly body to nurture life, you go to these groups, and you get buried in an area where either there's a forest or they'll plant a
Mhm.
tree, and
Yeah.
then your body nurtures life, and it seems like it's becoming a thing. So it's not like all graves, but
Mhm.
after maybe 10, 20 years, you've got a forest. But yes, that's the only positive news that I stand this last this last day. The rest are really so sad and so terrible, including the news last week about Sudan. You read that, right?
Mhm.
Protesters
Yes,
were
yes.
tear gassed by the military as they marched to the presidential palace in Khartoum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
But then hopefully our guest today will at least give us some hope, more good news, especially knowing that she has been one of the pillars of peace building in her country in Sudan.
yeah, I really hope so. But when I was looking at all of the information coming out of Sudan, it seems like there was a revolution December 2018, and since then, after they toppled, uh, well, essentially a dictator, so many things have happened, and our guest used to be extremely positive about
Mm-hmm.
democratic changes and supporting the empowerment of women, women's political participation. But after the events over the last week, it would be interesting to find out how our guest thinks about the changes. Is the role of women, does it continue to be tremendous? I mean, up to now, they're at the forefront of protests. They're still participating in negotiations. But I really wonder, and I'm glad that our guest today is none other than our friend Enass Muzamel, who is a Sudanese development practitioner and civil society activist. And she has worked with various UN and international agencies focused on governance, gendered peace building, and advocacy. She sounds like you, actually, Ayesah. And since 2017, Enas founded the Sudanese Female Cyclists Initiative, I have to beg off on that initiative after I broke my elbow on a cycling event with my family. I've stopped cycling. I think Enas is going to be upset with me. But
Mhm.
this initiative of hers promotes women's participation in Sudan in outdoor sports and access to public spaces. And she's a very outspoken supporter of the Sudanese pro democracy movement in national and international media and has been actively involved in the Sudanese uprising since
Oh,
December 2018. And Enas, like me, is a member of the Women's Alliance for Security Leadership. She's also executive director of Madaniya, an organization that she co-founded in 2019. Welcome to She Talks Peace, Enas.
Hello, hello, Amina. Thank you so much for the nice introduction and
hi,
starting with
Enass.
you and Ayesah also. And yeah, I'm very excited to
Yeah.
talk and to exchange
Thank you
some.
for accepting our invitation, Enass.
Uh,
I'm sure.
that's nice. It's my pleasure to be here and also to communicate. Our what's going on in Sudan and the situation, and also to talk on behalf of many women and also some other Sudanese citizens, and to reflect what happened and
Okay.
how are things going in Sudan.
Yeah.
You know,
Tita
Ayesah,
Enass.
I
Yes,
have
yes.
I have a sneaky feeling that Enas accepted our invitation so that she could have a 1 hour rest from protesting because it's been so difficult getting to her. She was always at the front lines. So
Mhm.
so
I'm
Enas,
sure.
tell me, apart from
Yeah.
starting the Sudanese Female Cyclists Initiative, and you're shown in your Instagram and Twitter profile pictures with your bicycle, can you tell us why Sudanese Female Cyclist Initiative in us?
Yeah, the Sudanese Female Cycling Initiative, it was an idea came out of my personal interest in cycling. So it started that I traveled to the Netherlands in 2014, between 14 and 16. I used to do some work and studies there. And yeah, then I came with the idea that when I came to Sudan, I thought, oh, those women in Holland are so free using these
Oh
millions of
yeah,
bicycles. Let me try
right.
myself. So when I tried myself the first time, I realized that my action attracted other ladies just to join and to see. And from that time, we were like, I was an only person, then with three, four, five, and then it became like a movement that promoting the activities of women outdoors, because we are very traditional, strict, conservative country, Sudan, where
Mm,
women movement activities, even the type of sport they do, is something that has to do with the society, whether they accept or not the people in the society. So I thought this cycling has to do with many things, has to do with clean environment, the contribution of women to clean environment. It has to do with breaking these social barriers and also challenging the traditional mentalities. It has to do with health and women mobility. It has to do with also economic situation of women, where
yeah.
they can move from a place to another. Although it's not easy really with the poor infrastructure in Sudan after all these political unrest and problems with the infrastructure in Sudan and the climate, because we are one of the hottest countries on earth, like the temperature between March and July goes up to 45, 47. So it's not easy, but still it's an activity where women come together, do other activity, like in October we were celebrating, or we're also raising awareness on the Pink October breast cancer. Soon we are going to be part of the 16 days of activism to end violence against women, women national international day, international environment day, or disability, or because we have different, women, they are part students, girls with disability, young, older generation, little girls. So the movement, it's about a lot of things in one thing. So the bike is
and
not about only bike.
freedom and
Of course.
us it gives you a feeling of power that you're mobile, you can go where you want, and that sense of empowerment must be so attractive to young Sudanese girls.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, of course, definitely that it's a human rights project, women rights project.
Mhm.
That's
Enes,
why.
can I ask you, Enes, how often do you organize these bike events? And how many women are involved?
We are meeting every Wednesday. In fact, today is our day. So
Okay.
after work, between 4 until like 7 or 8, at one of the
Okay.
big park in Khartoum, where we have one cycling lane, because we don't have cycling lanes in Sudan. So it's the place where we meet. So it's once a week where we do. This is like the regular activities, and then from time to time we do like a big thing where we move from street or locality to another. So it's a weekly activity.
Good, that sounds really good. So, Enas, do you ride your bikes when you go to the demonstrations?
It's not easy with the tear gas and the bullets, and
Yeah, yeah.
we walk because um, if I fall, is going to be a bit of a problem, because yeah, but yeah, sometimes, some few times that I did. And yeah, Aisha, we were asking about the number. So we started
Yes,
as
the
few,
numbers.
but
Yeah.
now we have a core number of 50, 60 ladies, and we have
Okay.
like a group, WhatsApp group. But the movement and the ladies who registers are like more than 700 or 1,000 or so.
That's
What is the age range
fantastic.
like? How about the age group? What is the
Uh,
youngest member?
mainly, mainly the young age, or okay, the youth. So the age between, the university age, like with 19 until, and then, we have also like a bit of older generation within the young ladies, which is between 20 to 35. These are the main. Then we have members
Okay.
younger and also older.
Okay. We
So,
will not be
so
part of that group.
no,
No,
Only
no, we
younger.
definitely
are.
not. Definitely not. But we will be part of the group that goes with you to demonstrate. So Enas,
Okay.
tell us, please. Can you explain what's going on? What has been described as the coup that halted the country's transition towards democracy? What's that all about, Enas?
Yeah, I mean, in Sudan since 1980, 89, were under the Muslim Islamist military government, and the political parties, the people were struggling over those 30 years, and in 2018, after long, how to say, um, many times that people tried to kick the dictators. In 2013, it was like a beginning of revolution, but it failed because of the violence and killing people, torturing them. Then in 16, then between 16 to 18, where people managed to organize themselves. And in April 2019, that Omar al-Bashir, after 30 years, yeah, he was overthrown after a very famous and big sit-in next to the army headquarters in Khartoum. And this was an effort of resistance committees in Sudan, the young guys, the professional associations, the political parties, the women activists and women groups, and everyone was protesting for many months from 18 to 19. And yeah, but then in 2018 July, a political agreement happened between the military and the civilian, and a big coalition called the Forces of Freedom and Change, and it was the biggest political coalition that happened ever in Sudan. But the problem, you know, all these consequences, all these fragile,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, fragility, and also the state was very weak, so the agreement was not the best. So we came up with something called the Constitutional Declaration, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the base of the 3 or 2.5 years of a transitional period where we got a technocrat group, prime minister. But the problem, it was an executive body, but the legislative, you know, the parliament and also the judiciary were still under the previous regime, the control, and we didn't have, of course, a legislative council. So it was an executive body that like they were really targeted by what we call it the deep state. So the
Mm.
deep state, where those Islamists and old regime people are hiding in each corner, targeting. So the job of the transitional period government was really tough. And then in October 2021, where the military coup happened and they took over again, and this is the 1 year struggle now that every week, twice a week, we are on the street trying to kick them. But of course, the violence, you know, a lot of things against us. But we feel like it will come because people are very stubborn. We are just protesting. And of course, there are three things happening at the same time. We have the UN mission for supporting transitional, how to say, like process in Sudan. The UNITAMs, they are leading the negotiation and the political
The
negotiation. And then
and
we
that's
have
the UN. The UN is leading the negotiations,
they
or
are coordinating and mediating between the military and the civil
ah,
forces. And of
and you're
course,
optimistic. You're optimistic, Enas, because
I'm not really
sometimes I
optimistic.
think you're a little down, so you go out into the streets and protest.
Yeah, I mean, there are three pillars or three parts of the change that have happened in Sudan. So this political solution, also the protest, yeah, and the protest, and then the international community pressure, because Sudan is in a terrible situation with geopolitics. We have Russia, we have China, we have the Gulf, the Emirates, we have the Turkey, all those supporters of Islamists and dictators. So the only pressure on them that can come from the international community. So we are trying to those three things, but of course I'm part of the street. So we are the one just putting pressure every day, telling the government that we cannot, no, we don't accept you, and you cannot rule us by force.
Yes, when she said that she belongs to the street, it brought back to mind street parliamentarians. Remember people power, right, Ayesa?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So Enass is really unstoppable because she is not only in one place, but all three. Yeah, it also somehow reminds me that this. It's only now actually that I've been made aware that this protest continues on a weekly basis. But how do you
Yeah.
keep it up, Enas? How do you keep it up? Because in our countries, I think we are more like reactive. We don't do regular protests. It's only sometimes when we feel that there is really a need for it. So how about it in your situation? How do you keep
Yeah,
up the regularity?
Continues in Sudan because the dictators and the military are there. So it's the only way that to show and to tell them clearly that we don't want you. We cannot. I mean, yeah, and of course to keep it alive. This protest. It's the body that is leading the organizing the protest is called the resistance committees, and it's a peaceful resistance movement started in Sudan since 20, I think, 12 or 2012, 2000, yeah, between 2009 and 2012. But it became strong and organized during the recent revolution after 2018-19, and those
Are
are
you,
the
Enes,
times.
are you part of the resistance committee?
I'm a supporter, like myself. I support the resistance committee of my neighborhood, of my area, many of my friends. But because I'm engaged in other things, the civil society, I'm also like, I'm part of like we push this effort of international community by also communicating and talking, being part. Next week, I'm going to be in Germany also to talk to the German government and to the
Mm.
the German parliament about the case of the SGBV, especially the FGM here in Sudan, because we are one of the countries that we have the highest rate of FGM worldwide. So, and because I'm busy with that, but of course, once we are on the street, we all are part of the resistance movement and we are part of the resistance committees.
Enes, how does the resistance committee and your group, the cyclist initiative, how do you communicate with with your network? Is social media very active in
Yes.
Sudan?
Yeah, social media and the internet, although the government is using it as a weapon or to,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, the internet and also electricity. So the day of the big protest, like on the 25th of October, so we woke up with no internet, no electricity, nothing, nothing. And even the communication through the phone, yeah, it was stopped, and that's really, yes. But the internet, and you can see if you go to the Facebook or Instagram, then you see our biking. That how we communicate with people, because it's yeah, and also sometimes the radio. That's the only efficient way, like the tool for the traditional media. But yeah, that people listen sometimes when they drive their cars or when they're sitting home or so. But the WhatsApp and Facebook is the Sudanese, they like to use it, and it's easy to just communicate with the 10,000 persons. You just
Mhm. Uh-huh.
through the
Okay.
through messaging or
Yeah.
posting or one photo or all these things.
Mm. Maybe just for the benefit of our viewers, especially those first time viewers, just because earlier Enas uttered, some acronyms SGBV. So SGBV is sexual and gender based violence, and then she also mentioned about FGM, female genital mutilation, and Enas mentioned earlier that Sudan has one of the highest incidences or cases of FGM, this female genital mutilation. Can you tell us, Enas, what drives FGM in Sudan? Why is that Sudanese people continue to practice this female genital mutilation?
First of all, it's the traditional mentality that the girls will be clean if they went through this process. Also, it has to do with misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the religion thing, because they think that this happened during the time of Prophet Muhammad, this and this, and there is a Sunni type of FGM and so. And also, it has to do with this patriarchal system and the idea of controlling the desire of the females. Yeah, that's it. And also, it has to do with this, you know, patriarchal system, even within the families, where the mom and the dad, they have to decide for this little girl what will happen to her body. So it's a combination of different things, and of course, it's supported by the system.
Yeah.
And we are struggling, like during the transition. One of the achievement of the transitional government was that including considering it as a crime in the Sudan criminal law, but the problem how to implement,
Yeah.
since the father and the mom are the one who's doing it, and in our very complicated legal system, you cannot take the parents to court.
Oh my goodness, you really have to make sure that your pro democracy activities to support transition really works, because Enas, the first time I heard about female genital mutilation, I was already in college, and I was shocked. I was really shocked hearing about there was a study that was done about this happening in Africa, because in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia, Muslim communities don't, that's not a thing. So we couldn't understand why this was happening. Now you've given us some important information. Patriarchy really can be absolutely devastating at
Yeah,
times.
and the
Yeah.
consequences are really tough, and the future, and the problem with during the delivery, the problem of the pain during their monthly periods. I mean, they really suffer, and it's and this suffer is not really recognized by them. Yeah, they think it's just something that they should deal with it, and yeah. And sometimes, even if you are not circumcised, then after marriage, some of the husband they ask for it
What?
during the yeah, like when the girl is prepared in some local, some traditional societies. So
Oh
they
my
ask, they say,
goodness.
"Oh, take her to the woman or to the midwife who's doing,
Yeah,
mainly the midwives. They're the
yeah,
ones who are practicing this, not the
yeah.
medical doctor. And it's not
But you,
allowed by law, but it also has to do with another problem, which is the low income of those women. So they
oh yeah,
make money
yeah,
out of
yeah.
this practice.
Yeah, yeah. And it's very painful because I don't suppose they go to a hospital to do that. They get some local, healer to do it for you. But Enas, I remember when I was young, um, there we did have in my tribe essentially we did have a ritual for female circumcision, but it was a ritual with prayers, and my grandmother led the prayers, essentially praying for your purity and so on and so forth, but nothing ever um, physical. Oh my goodness, Enas, you have so much on your plates. Not only protesting against the
Mm.
pro-authoritarian tendencies of people who are in power, but
No,
protecting
the
the
system is
rights
very
of women and girls.
the system is very controlling and patriarchal. I mean, I'm going out now, so I was looking at my clothes based on where I'm going, that I have to pick my clothes. Shall I cover completely or shall I
Oh,
do this? If I only go
Oh.
work, then I can use a small scarf. But if it's going to a government place, which I'm going to do today, to do
mm-hmm.
some papers related to our organization, then I
Okay.
thought, oh, no jeans. It has to be a long skirt. So it's like we are really like dealing with the consequences of this traditional patriarchal system, even at the very personal level, that you
Mhm.
have to yeah, to consider and to think about all the details, the way you sit from the very early age, the way you talk, the way you laugh, where to go, the movement of women in Sudan, even within very modern societies or educated families, still the
Mhm.
woman has. I mean, we are under guardianship and under this wilaya in Islam, like some man or a woman, sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
moms
Mm-hmm.
are, the father is not here, then the mom will play the role of the father to control the
Really,
girls.
really.
Yeah,
So even the moms have been brainwashed.
of course. And girls, some of the girls, they are defending these things. And I mean, the generation of the girls, of the women, the young women who are, their girls are going through the FGM, are from
Mhm.
they born in the 90s or early 2000 or something. So imagine 25 years
Mm. Mm-hmm.
old mom, she believe in such practice.
Mm.
That's
Okay,
never
that's
going to
that's
happen
very
in
sad.
Sabah, right?
Yeah.
Right, Ayesah? Not going to happen
Well,
in Sabah.
according to reports, yeah, FGM also does happen in Malaysia, but it's a very small number.
Mm.
It's a small number, and it's not something that is well accepted by the majority of the Muslims. So I guess it benefits us that Malaysia, despite that Islam, the religion has a special position in the Malaysian constitution. We actually have the constitution itself honors and recognizes the diversity of religion and cultures. So that makes Malaysia actually a very diverse society, and even in terms of cultural norms and traditions. So in a way, that has really helped the country a lot in being very progressive and transitioning to modernity and all that. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
cannot imagine living in Sudan now.
Yeah, and
That we are
I
so
was
used to
really
so
thinking,
much freedom in Malaysia.
Ayesha, Khartoum is such an exotic place. I've always wanted to see Khartoum after
Yeah,
I saw the old movie. Do you remember that old movie Khartoum? So I've had this image in my mind about what Khartoum is like. But I was going to ask you, Enas. So with all of these things that are happening, how's women's participation in Sudan? Has it improved a bit? Is it on the downslide? What's happening with women's participation?
The women political participation was a bit of a disappointment,
Hmm.
especially during the transitional government, because the revolution was it was a remarkable contribution of women and participation. Even the icon of the revolution was Ala Salah, which is a girl who's on the top of a car, singing, and yeah, and it was in an international news. And women thought that after getting rid of the dictator and all these things, then their situation will be improved. But of course, we realized that, and it was logical that changing the political system and getting rid of a dictatorship, that doesn't mean that socially and the traditional mentality and the patriarchal system will just
Mm-hmm.
change overnight. So when it came to the for the formation of the executive body and the government, it was a big disappointment where women from political parties and from the active political group struggled to get the 30%, and it was kind of representation and not participation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that was a problem. And then yeah, the problem, it continued that women cannot reach the decision making positions in Sudan, because the social system, the legal system, and the source of legislation in the country does not support that.
Perhaps, Enas, the next step for you is to put together a campaign for women to run, and maybe Enas could run. What do
With
you
those
think, Ayesha?
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy, and a lot of things. I mean, even the way people look at you when you do something that is according to them and to their eyes, this is something new and not normal. It's a struggle. Like me, even when it's Wednesday and I try to get my bike here out of the neighborhood, and all those men, the way they talk, the way they look, and it's a struggle. Because you don't feel comfortable. You feel like you're under focus and targeted by these mentalities. So the social media, it's very good. It helped us to, and it's still helping us to promote and to communicate with the outside world, or among ourselves. But at the same time, these cyber bullying and the way that those nasty and difficult sometimes comments accusing you of being this
Yeah,
and
yeah,
cat,
yeah,
all this
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
our
Yeah.
tradition.
And as let us imagine that we are in front of a genie, and the genie can give us three wishes that you can tell the genie, how what will be your three wishes, for
one of them
your
would be an
country.
electric bicycle.
Ah,
Any three wishes for a genie? What is it that you'd wish for?
oh, yeah, it's a lot. It's a list.
Top
But the
three, top
main
three.
thing, yeah, the main thing that, yeah, like maybe like everything that has to do with our this program, which is peace, peace to the whole world, and peace to Sudan and to the women of Sudan. And then like also I would like, because sometimes they feel disappointed, you feel depressed, and so I wish all the women who are making change in the world to get the strength, the confidence, and also the, yeah, this like the inner peace, and also the to do their job, yeah. And yeah. And
Last wish,
last
Enas.
way, because I come from this, before I joined the civil society, I'm someone from the humanitarian field, and I worked for UNDP and all those organizations. I really wish for the people that their voices could not be heard, to be able to hear, and to be heard, and also to communicate their message, and yeah, their situation is improved. I'm very not affected, but very emotional about meeting with some girls with disabilities, that they told me some stories. So I wish more like, humane, and this humanity to be improved a little bit, and people will take each other, not even serious, but also to look at their this basic human rights thing.
Okay.
That's
Well, my
that's
wish.
why. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
A
I
lot
was
of
just
wishes, complicated.
that's why Enas is a role model in Sudan, because
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
first wish would have been for an electric bicycle.
Yeah. And also for women,
Well,
it's another one. I'm allowed to give a fourth one for the bicycles.
okay.
That
Go
we
ahead. Go
see
ahead.
all the women in Sudan using bicycles, and
There you
those
go.
men, Ginny will make those men don't see it. They don't see it. This we move with our bikes without any control.
And finally, because we're running out of time, given the trends that you're seeing, Enas, even in the United States, you're supposed to be the center of democracy, the
True.
birthplace of democracy. There's a move towards authoritarianism. So,
Mm.
can you share some words of advice for young women, young men, old women, old men who may be listening to us, who are also going up against oppressive and undemocratic regimes? What would you be your advice to them?
Okay, my advice, the first one, it will come from the inspiration from my country, that people should find ways to work together, especially young people. And that's the struggle in Sudan. I just forgot to mention that in Sudan, it's not only about the dictatorship, but also the division within the civil and civilian like movement,
Oh,
and even the pro-democracy movement. Even some problems, some mistrust, some problems between resistance committees, political parties, women movement. The women movement in Sudan is so divided. So I'm always busy with this idea of people should find ways to have more of a positive visions, and to create ways to work together, and also overcome those challenges and the disagreements, because it's normal that we can disagree and we have different views, but we will also have to work together. This is really something that's very important in the countries with the situation like Sudan, and with the stability, because the enemies invest a lot of effort and time to make divisions between people and make them disagree. Yeah, and also like, yeah, people should believe in their abilities, in their that they can, if you want to do something, you can do it. Just
mm-hmm.
find the right time, the right tool, or the right approach to do it. And if this fail, try another one. If this failed, try another one. So the solidarity and within and among the groups is very important. That's really the thing that I would advise the people who are listening to us, especially the young people. Yeah, think positive. Don't look behind. Just look forward. That's
Unless
it.
you're biking, then you have to look behind just to make
Life,
sure.
the
Just to
life is
make
like
sure,
bicycle.
right?
Yeah,
There's a saying in the Philippines, right? Jose Rizal said it, right, Ayesah? He
What is it?
does not look back at the past,
Okay. Cannot
right?
go to the
Cannot
future. Cannot.
cannot move into the future, something like
and
that.
in the bicycle, we say life like a bicycle. If you want to, if you want to, to keep balance, just continue.
Just
Otherwise, you
continue.
will fall. So let's
That's
continue.
right.
So yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Enass, for your words of wisdom and for joining us today in She Talks Peace. Dear listeners,
Thank
if
you so
by
much.
any chance you would like to send a wish or a commitment for a bicycle,
Mhm.
questions, comments, or thoughts for Enas as she continues to work in Sudan, do send us an email at shetalkspeacepodcast@gmail.com. Let me repeat that. shetalkspeacepodcast@gmail.com. So thanks so much, Enas. Ayesah, that was really
Thank you,
fun. Now I'm
Anna.
beginning to
Yeah.
think I
Thank you
should
so
start
much.
biking again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
She Talks Peace is brought to you in partnership with Podcast Network Asia and Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast. For more information, check out their website at podcastnetwork.asia and podmetrics.co.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.